Well, good morning, Mr. Winter. How are you today?
Good morning, Mark. Well, how am I today? I'm frozen.
It is, I think, winter by name, winter by nature today. It's absolutely freezing.
I'm told it was 2 degrees this morning.
Yeah, it is freezing. Anyway, we complain and then we'll be saying it's too hot. So that's just the way the world goes. I was looking forward to today because Jodi Dunn from Envisage HR Solutions is our guest. Welcome, Jodi.
Thank you. Well, I'm really excited and cold too, so we'll see if we can warm ourselves up by talking for the next half an hour.
And Jodi's also a judge on the Geelong Business Excellence Awards alongside Bill and myself. And we've been sort of trying to work our way through different businesses that are involved in the Business Excellence Awards and the judges. So we're looking forward to today. So, Bill, off we go.
All right. Well, Jodi is the owner, managing director, boss, whatever you want to call her, of Envisage HR Solutions. And HR Solution is a well-known company in the Geelong region, but also works outside of Geelong and in Melbourne and surrounding districts. And when I say HR Solutions, her focus really is on those internal systems and processes that Mark and I both know through our mentoring experience with business owners. It's often a neglected area, but it has such enormous repercussions because if you're a director of a business, of course, you can't abdicate your responsibilities on HR, and the law keeps changing all the time, so you really do need support from somebody that knows what they're talking about.
So, Jodi, where did you go to primary school?
Wow. That's an interesting story, and it probably will link into what we're going to talk about today. My parents had many businesses, so all throughout Victoria. So I started in Apollo Bay, then I went to Euroa, then I went to Bendigo, and then I moved to Geelong when I was 15. And I guess that passion for my parents having many businesses led me into always knowing I was going to run my own business one day. So probably Apollo Bay was where I started in little town of Apollo Bay. We all know Apollo Bay, the coastal town there. And my parents had the only service station there back in the 70s. And
I think there's still only one there, isn't there?
There is, yes.
Right, but I noticed it not long ago. It's been rebuilt.
So, and then we lived there till I was about 8 or 9, and then we moved to Euroa and had got a motel in Little Euroa in Victoria, and then we moved to Bendigo. They had a hotel and then restaurant, takeaway, all sorts of things. Went through that Catholic system there in primary school. So that's where... and I was always the girl that spoke the most and got told off for chatting, and now I get paid to talk, so I love it. I know this is I've fallen into the right industry for the last 30 years.
So when you're at school, did you have a first job sort of as a a teenager?
We're going to call it child labour from my parents. I started working at 11 in one of their restaurants, takeaways there, and started getting a taste for pocket money way back then. So I've always had a really strong work ethic through my parents, and my mum actually still works in my business now. She does all of our bookkeeping, and she's in her 70s now.
The tables have turned then. She's working for you.
Yeah, and so that passion and that hard-working nature that my parents always had, they were just very hard-working. That started for me from a really young age at 11. I'd save up for my Saba, jacket or my Cherry Lane jacket, when I was 11 and 12, and off I'd go and buy it. I was really quite independent from a young age, and, very much enjoyed being around people. But as I said, we look at my report the other week from prep. Jodi's a pleasure to be, but she's a chatterbox, and she really disrupts the class. And I do that now in my team. They tell me, Jodi, don't come in today because you're going to disrupt us. We're really busy.
That's a coincidence. Last night I got the 2 school reports from my daughter on 2 of our grandkids. So, yeah. But somehow I think they're all very much the same these days. I'm sure. So what was your first real job outside of the family?
It was at Kmart here in Belmont. Back in, oh goodness, that would have been the late mid-80s and late 80s. Yeah, so, and actually... I was pretty proactive then. A few friends I'd applied. I put in my resume, and a few friends got a job interview. I didn't get the job interview, so I just followed them in and said, "Oh, you must have missed my application."
Fair enough.
That's very good.
And I got the job, and I worked in menswear. So there you go. And that was, that really, I guess, instilled in me. teamwork and learning to work with different people and learning to really understand different personalities, different generations, and really, grasp that to know that, you just can't, your world doesn't revolve around just your friends that you love and you like. You've got to start to learn to work with different people and really, work through that. So, yeah, that was a great experience. I love Kmart. I mean, as I said, I shouldn't have got the job, but I got it. So I was pretty confident as a kid, and I was pretty confident in everything that I did. So, there I went. I tagged along.
The
and got the
important
job.
thing there, of course, Jodi, is how to deal with customers.
Yes,
wasn't it?
absolutely.
That was the other. I would imagine that would be one
yeah.
of the biggest learning experiences.
Definitely, that was. And back then, this was in the 1987 or something like that. So, we had this really horrible uniform. It was like this apricot uniform. Anyway, that's a fashion statement. But it was, very much had to learn to deal with irate customers, learn how to, and there wasn't a lot of training then. They pretty much just threw you in. But I'd obviously already been working for 5 or 6 years for my parents' businesses. So I was probably a little bit more, mature.
So did you go to TAFE or uni?
So I went. So I finished school, and then I decided that I was going to work. Just did a little bit of work here and there. Then I went and travelled the world at 20. Then I came back all completely fulfilled, and here I am. And luckily, my husband, who I've been with for 32 years, he waited for me. I went over and travelled the world. It was I don't know whether he was going to wait much longer, but he waited for the 8 or 9 months that I went over there. Came back, and I actually fell into HR. A friend of mine was working at Deakin University. She said, there's some casual work in the HR department. Would you like to? And I was sort of deciding what I was going to do and where I was going to go. And so I started there casually and then ended up being there for about 5 years. I was probably a little bit rebellious for Deakin. It was a great experience, but I like to be really innovative and have that opportunity to develop. So, that probably wasn't something that I didn't get a huge opportunity, but I studied my diploma in HR there, and I'd already studied an associate diploma in business management. And then my husband and I were lucky enough to move to Melbourne, and so I got to have 5 or so years there working in recruitment and HR. And so my journey started at Deakin Uni 30 years ago, really, but I just fell into it, and then it sort of evolved and developed, through there.
So for people that are obviously, when we interview people, it's always interesting to see their career changes and what we call sliding door moments.
Yes, yeah.
Something triggers it. So yours is you came back and just, here's a casual job, and off you go.
Yeah, and I realised too, that my hubby, the boyfriend at the time, who's my hubby now, I missed him, and I went and, had that experience overseas and realised that, I was ready for this career. But I was a goer from the start. I always knew I was going to, own my own business. So it did take me another 20 years before I sort of started my business up 10 years ago. But, that was a great first experience working at Deakin. And we had the little Apple computers that were like tiny little.
Yes, I remember those well. I think my first one was a Commodore, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, they were tiny, like little, and you could literally get about 10 words across each line. Like there wasn't much.
So what brought you back down to Geelong?
Then we had our daughter at 20, nearly 23 years ago. So we came back into the community back then, and I was raring to go. I was equipped with a lot of new skills and experience. I'd had leadership roles. I really developed so much there, and then had Annabelle, and then I was lucky enough to start working with Bernadette Uselak at People at Work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So she, after I had my daughter, and so I started there part-time when we moved back here, and then I was with People at Work for about 10 years before then I decided to start up my own business 10 years ago.
So without trying to divulge your age, how old were you when you started your business?
41.
That's
41.
That's excellent, isn't it, Mark? Because Mark and I have a separate program going for what we call 50-plus maturepreneurs.
Yes.
Because we believe there's a huge opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you did a long apprenticeship, in other words. Is that correct?
I had. Well, Bernadette, you all know Bernadette. Yep. So she was a great mentor for me and allowed me to develop through my journey. And even though I worked part-time, I was still able to manage people. And I think, that's what's amazing about what I do. As you know, through your journey, you then learn from other people, what you don't want to be and who you do want to be like. So, my team here, majority of my team are part-time, they're mums, They really want that flexibility, but to still have a career. So I allow that. And because of that, I have, this amazing team now. You think I'd get it right. I have to get it right after 30 years. But, I've got this team who are still very passionate, and I'm allowing them to be themselves and be really innovative, even though, they're part-time and they're mums. So Bernadette certainly allowed me to do that, and I was able to really develop my skills and my ability there. And then, then she left to work at the Chamber, and then I sort of stepped into that director role for a couple of years. And then, really I felt, rightio, it's my time. I've been back in the Geelong community for 22 years. I've got some really great connections. I'm a bit full on, so I don't know whether they knew me as the wacko HR chick back then, but I knew I had to give it a go, and my girls were getting a little bit older, but they needed me around still, my two girls. So I talked to my husband. I have great support from him and my parents, and we went, let's give it a go. So, it was a really exciting journey to start with 10 years ago, because I was on my own for a few years.
So how did you start? What did you just put the shingle up and said, I'm here? Or?
I took the family to Fiji, took a big deep breath and went, rightio, let's go, Jodi. They're either going to hate you or love you. And, then I reached out to my connections, and then just started really building that different scope of my brand and my brand at that time. So again, everyone knew me as Jodi, energetic, positive Jodi, which I am. I've got lots of energy, I've got lots of passion, I still love what I do, and they believed in me as well, so they gave me a go. And then I just wanted to work a couple of days a week. That lasted for about a month, and then within a 6 or 12 months, then that sort of imploded a bit, and then I then worked for a little bit too at a IT firm as their HR manager, in between sort of doing it all, and just really got myself. That was such a fantastic experience. That was with Nick Stanley at
Tribal. Yep.
At Tribal. So Nick was started his business in back of his home, and then built this into this global business. So it was a really fantastic experience for me from a HR perspective, because I was able to work with a business going from a small business to a larger business to then a global business, and it was really fantastic skills
so,
that I...
Jodi, if I'm a business owner and I've got
Yes.
a few people working for me and all the rest of it, and you have to come and explain to me what your business really does and how you can help my business,
Yes.
what would you say?
What's your elevator pitch?
Yeah. Well, I guess, let's have a think about a business that's maybe got 20 staff, 25 staff. They've had substantial growth. They understand they don't have contracts. They don't have policies and procedures. They've had a bit of a turnover of staff. Their leadership team aren't developed enough. And, they're in a little bit of a cycle. So we come in and really... Our mantra is we optimise the performance of your business through your people. And let's face it, the both of you are very experienced. You know that the biggest challenge of every business is their people. So we really start with that. And we do, obviously, we offer the recruitment side as well. So we would, that comes into it, later as we develop some really great relationships. But we bring that employee through the journey of their employment and then the different phases of your business. So if you're downsizing, upsizing, stabilising, retention, there's a few redundancies going on at the moment, whatever that is. But also we do the other flip side of it, where we do the crisis work. So it's Jodi, we've got a serious disciplinary situation here, sexual harassment, bullying. We need you to come in and help us through that. So we do a lot of advisory, and probably the other thing that we do is that my consultants do come out and work in your business. So we don't just work externally. We actually we understand your business, because we go in maybe once a week, once a month, once a fortnight, and really understand your business. We're not doing it from an external perspective. We're actually jumping in there with you, and we're on the journey with you. And what I always joke to businesses when they start with this is that you're never going to be able to live without us. And they always say, they go, oh, it's a bit cocky. I'm like, you won't, because how long's a piece of string? HR is very different to what it was 20, 30 years ago. It's not, OH&S is separate, payroll separate. This is really about your people. It's about making sure that the business is following the process, and it's about the employees being empowered and engaged and being able to be a success through your business as well. So
yeah, my biggest fear, or probably not fear, Mark, it's as you and I go out and visit, and work for companies and do the mentoring, everything we do, is the lack of understanding of the liabilities and responsibilities of business owners, not only as directors of their companies, but their senior management are just as liable. And in fact, now with the new changes in the Victorian law, HR companies are liable.
absolutely.
Right? So
Yeah.
how do you keep up
Yep.
with the
Yes.
constant change we're seeing in
Yes.
Victoria
Yes.
on all these sorts of OH&S and workplace issues? How do you
Absolutely.
keep up to speed
Yeah.
with what's going on?
Well, we're constantly, I guess, studying ourselves and making sure that we're up with legislation. We're in different platforms. But, the latest one is the psychological safety. And so we've been running lunch and learns on front of mind with all of our senior managers. And, at the moment, what I'm seeing, Bill, which, is really does concern me, is that our senior managers, our business owners, our senior leaders are probably not getting the support that they need through the other side of COVID. So they've survived it. They've kept their business going. We've got, employees now who are demanding a lot more. They want flexibility. They want more money. They want this. We can't survive. There's all these things going on. So the mental health of our senior managers and business owners is really quite high at the moment. So, we're really trying to work with them on that. We send a regular newsletters to all of our clients to keep them up to date. We come in, we work with them on all those updates. We're just, developing all new contracts now with all the legislative changes. And you're right, Bill, it's a very big responsibility for business. So, and that's why a lot of businesses like to use external HR consultants, because we look at it from a different lens. We're not emotionally connected to the business, so we can come in and really help them grow and develop their business and really shift it. I mean, it's so satisfying to know that I can come in and work with our largest business is 250 people, but I really love working with that mid-level business as well that's in growth, and you can walk away and at the end of it go, I made a difference to that business. And what we try and do is really take ourselves out of a job. We might work with a business for a couple of years and say, you don't need us anymore. We've developed you. I do a lot of leadership mentoring and coaching as well on HR fundamentals with all the leaders, so that they can have those difficult conversations, performance manage people, mitigating that risk, as you were saying earlier on, mitigate the risk for their business through their managers, because it does start from the top down. And as you know, we build great people, employees get moved to and promoted to leadership roles, and then they don't get given those support networks to be successful.
So what's sort of the three things that strike you that are common across the businesses you deal with? The three of the common issues, or?
Yes. Going back to that's a great question, Mark. Going back to leadership, I think, they don't necessarily have the skills and ability to be able to successfully manage their team. So then keep their team empowered, engaged, innovated. Retention's a big thing at the moment as well. So, making sure that you're having engagement surveys, really understanding, not thinking your people, understanding, 12 months ago, employees wanted flexibility. Now they want money. They want more money because interest rates have gone up. Like it's a hard gig. It's hard stuff. So I think leadership, retention, and definitely keeping up with legislation as Bill was sort of saying.
And what's on the horizon? What's the thing that you're looking at thinking, this is going to be interesting in a couple of years' time? What do you think's coming in that space?
That's a really great question. I think, we're seeing the new leaders coming through. So we're seeing the Gen Y, the Gen X's are sort of, we're still around, we're still here, the baby, we're all there, but we've got this new, and they're very different to the way that we were raised. They're probably not as communicative because they've been raised through technology. So it's a different touch points, I think, so we're going to see that shift in leadership that will be very different to how we've probably led and managed for the last 20, 30, 40 years. I think there's going to be that. I think too that from a business perspective, I mean, this region is so, it's I can't believe the growth. Like, and being on the Business Excellence Awards,
Yep.
the amazing businesses and people, and a bit like what I did back in my way back in my 20s. You know, I went and moved to Melbourne, grabbed some new skills, went overseas, learned all these new things, and then brought them back to the region. So we're getting that now. So we've got some really amazing younger, that next generation coming through, and I think that we're going to see that. I think we're going to, I think from people moving in their careers. Obviously, the younger generation, they're going to have 5 to 8 different career changes. So businesses have to be really open to that. I say to my clients, if you can get 2 great years out of a millennial, give them the best experience they'll ever have, and they will come back. But don't expect them to be with you for any longer, because they're just not going to be.
That's a change of mindset, isn't it?
It is.
So I just want to quickly go on to the topic of working from home. And in recent times, we've heard one of the big banks have said to the staff,
Yes.
you've got to come back in. I actually put something on LinkedIn a week ago about this issue about working from home.
Yes.
Now, I think it's here to stay for a while. There's no doubt about that. What's your experience then? You say you're working with managers and leaders and all this, but half of them might be working from home. Now, this whole working from home experience, where do you think it's going?
Yes. Well, it's here to stay. And so I think it's about businesses, again, shifting their mindset and really focusing on retention. So, I mean, even in all the recruitment that we do now, the first question is there flexibility to work from home? So it is something that's on, but it's about how businesses can then manage that. So I've been working with a lot of our clients to ensure that they take the ownership of what that looks like. So you can't work from home 5 days a week. And I think, Bill, that's a really great point you've made, is in that if you're a manager, you've got to connect with your people. And so you need to be able to do that face to face. So there has to be that shift as well. But, you know, we've all got into these amazing habits. We'll stay in our Ugg boots and our tracky dacks and we spend the day, you know, at home, and you just, you know, look from the top to the middle, you know, it's all you have to worry about. So I think there's a bit of comfort in that. And we're not saying people aren't performing. That I think, if anything, a lot of businesses are seeing that performance. And a lot of my clients that would never have thought about letting people work from home, they're seeing the benefits of that now. But I think it's about taking a bit more control of it, and it's definitely something that that probably 90% of the workforce now are expecting. So businesses have to work out how they're going to manage it, and, you know, offer, I guess, something that's fair, you know, from a flexibility.
I saw an interesting conflict recently in a company where it's both what you might traditionally call blue collar, white collar, you know, professionals and hands-on on the factory floor.
Yep.
And there's been resentment from the floor about the staff in the office. They're never there when we need them. They're working from home.
Yes.
So there's all sorts of issues that have yet to be ironed out. But
I agree.
I just think it's a challenge for business owners into the future.
Yeah. And if you, I guess, can offer that, it is something that if you want to be an employer of choice and you want to be able to attract, you know, at the moment there's some really quality people out there looking for work. They're ready to move, and I've got a recruitment team as well, and, you know, they're doing some amazing, finding some amazing candidates at the moment. It's certainly, you know, it was, you know, a bit of a different, 12 months ago it was a little bit different. It was a candidates market. That's certainly shifted a little bit now. People aren't just applying for 10 jobs. They're actually applying for the jobs that they want. So might be less applicants, but definitely a better quality. But that's certainly what they're looking for. But that's a really great point, because it's very hard as a manager to be able to connect with your team constantly over. And we had to be very creative during COVID when you were forced to work from home, but now that there's the opportunity. And so that's why I've been doing a lot of cultural reset workshops with our clients, because I do a lot of team building as well. And so bringing, you know, their stuff back into the workplace again, and they're having to almost reset their culture, having to reset how they actually build their culture moving forward and their business model, because everyone's having to do that.
It's interesting. I've got 3 kiddies under 28.
Yes.
And my daughter's all about working from home.
Yes.
She goes in 3 days a week, and the connection's important, because if you continually work from home, you don't have that the old water cooler discussions, that because a lot of work happens when you just chat.
Absolutely.
So it's getting that balance right. But in the mindset's different.
Yes.
That sort of age is, well, I want to work from home. I can do the job, and probably works harder because they'll work into the night doing things because they might have taken 2 hours off in the morning to go and do some shopping or whatever. It's just really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So Jodi, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, where do I see myself in 5 years? God, I don't want to think because I'm getting older. Look, I just see myself still doing what I love doing, and I think that's the key. And probably for people that are listening, that are thinking about starting up their own business and really working on what that model looks like, I think you've got to love what you do. You've got to make sure you've got the right support networks around you. You need to, like for me, I just let it all happen organically. I didn't have unrealistic expectations. So then when I met certain targets that I didn't expect, it was so exciting. And that was really, really important to me. And I allow my team to be really innovative, for them to come up with the best ideas, and I allow them to give it a go, even if it fails. I think that's really, really important to be able to... and, you know, I've been very lucky enough on my journey. My husband's my biggest supporter. And as I said, I've got my wonderful mum who still gets to keep me in line. She's the only one that's allowed to boss me around. But I think also you have to realise that you're going to have to network. So you're going to have to go to the networking. You have to build your brand. And I was lucky enough that I already had, 10 years or 15 years of my brand built before I started my business. So it was a lot easier for me. And to be honest, I do we build our base on our reputation, and we are very well... reputable, and because of the service and the level that we offer. So I think so where I want to be, I want to still be loving to do what I do. I still want to be making a difference to businesses, and my business is certainly about to go into that growth phase as well. I have 9 staff at the moment. We're continuing to grow and develop. We've got 2 different office spaces at the moment, and our landlords, the Hamilton Group, keep saying, you're growing and you want more space. But again, I allow that with my team. They work from home, on site, in the office. We all sort of move around a bit to give, that opportunity. And I think the other key is when you're recruiting, obviously it's really important when you're starting a business to really build a great team around you. And I think it's about being really open-minded with that. Not recruiting same. Yep. Recruit same, different. Recruit people that maybe might not come from your background, who have, some really amazing skill sets that they can bring to your business.
Cool. So importantly, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, we're on social media, all the different. You can jump onto our website at envisagehrsolutions.com.au. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, and we're quite active on all of that. Again, another amazing thing that you should do with your business is have your marketing plan, have your social media and digital plan to really have that imprint. And certainly we always have that opportunity to speak initially with our potential clients and really talk through how we can help them and assist them, and then we can go from there. So
fantastic,
we'd love
Jodi.
to hear from you all.
Well, I guess the summary, of course, and we always know, we've known it, and we do advise our own clients about this, that it's business is about people doing business with people.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jodi. It's been great to be here today. And I just hope it warms up when we leave.
That'd be great.
Here, that's all.
And I love your passion. Your passion for HR is huge, so well done.
And that's what I mean. I think it's important to keep your passion. As soon as you don't love it, well, then that's when, your business won't be as successful. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jodi.
Great. Thanks for your time.